This is the Holy Gospel according to St. John chapter 15. Jesus said, "I am the true vine. My Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You've already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I'm the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Some branches are gathered and thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
God's grace, mercy, and peace be yours this day through Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. God's ragtag little army. I think God must be very old, very tired. Maybe he used to look splendid in his fine general's uniform, but not anymore. He's been on this march a long time, and look at his ragtag little army. All he has for soldiers is you and me. Dumb little army. Listen, the drumbeat isn't even regular. Everyone is out of step. And there, you see, God keeps stopping along the way to pick up his little tiny soldiers who decide to wander off and play with a frog or run in the field, or those who get their foot tangled in the underbrush. They'll never get anywhere that way. And yet the march goes on. You see how the marchers are broken up into little groups? Look at that group up near the front. Now, there's a snappy outfit. They all look pretty much alike. At least they're in step with each other. That's something. Only they're not wearing their shoes. They're carrying them in their hands. What a silly little band. They won't get far before God will have to stop again. Or how about that other group over there? They're all holding hands as they march. The only trouble with this is the men on each side end of the line. Pretty soon they realize that one of their hands isn't holding on to anything. One hand is reaching and empty and alone. So they hold hands with each other and everybody marches around in circles. Of course, the bigger the circle, it's deceptive because as we march along, it looks like we're going someplace, but we're not. And so God must stop again. See what I mean? He'll never get anywhere that way. If God were more sensible, he'd take his little army and shape them up. Why, who ever heard of a soldier stopping to romp in a field? It's ridiculous. But even more absurd is a general who will stop the march of eternity to go and bring it back. But that's God for you. His is no empty, endless marching. He's going somewhere. His steps are deliberate and purposeful. He may be old and he may be tired, but he knows where he's going. And he means to take every last one of his tiny little soldiers with him. Only there aren't going to be any forced marches, and after all, there are frogs and flowers and thorns and underbrush along the way. And even though our foreheads have been signed with a cross, we're still only human. And most of us do get afraid or lonely. And would like to hold hands or cry or run away. And we don't know where we're going, and we can't seem to trust God, especially when it's dark out and we can't see him. And he won't go on without us. And that's why this is taking so long. Listen, the drumbeat isn't even regular. Everyone's out of step. And there, you see, God keeps stopping along the way to pick up one of his tiniest little soldiers who decided to wander off and play with a frog or run in a field, and whose foot got tangled in the underbrush. You never get anywhere that way. And yet, the march goes on. Today's sermon is brought to you by my office door. Maybe a week ago I came in and there was a new sign on my door. And this was not just an ordinary sign, not something somebody wrote. And this is a bedazzled sign. It's all sparkly and shiny. You can take a look at it after service if you're really interested. It reads, Northwest headquarters of the BSO Club, meetings held Wednesdays. Now, I'm sure you're asking, what in the world is the BSO Club? Well, our new office manager was explaining to me a little while back that in her house, they have a term, BSO, which stands for Bright Shiny Object. And it refers to all the things that can distract us from accomplishing what we set out to do. Now, with teenagers in the house, we all know how that goes. You ask them to do a chore, they start out the chore and then get distracted by any number of things. Any number of bright, shiny objects that set you off track. But you know, it doesn't just happen with teenagers. It happens all over the place. And apparently, my office at the headquarters, I don't know. Don't know quite how that happened. But Lori and I have talked about this. Meetings held Wednesdays. BSO headquarters meetings held Wednesdays are notorious here at church. The quilters are here, so that's a good distraction. It's the biggest day for the preschool classes. We got the most kids here, so there's lots of extra noise. And it seems to be the day that every single telemarketer wants to call the church. We get more calls, and honestly, it's kind of fun. But it means you start one thing, get distracted, start that, get distracted, start that, and before you know it, you can't. You've started a zillion things and haven't completed any of them. The BSO Club, bright shiny objects. Yeah, they get in the way. Now that sign is on my door, not to distract me, not to encourage this behavior, but to remind me how easy it is to get distracted, how often it happens, and how I need to be more intentional about focusing and remembering what I'm trying to do so I get something done. And I know I'm not the only one. I think we're all kind of in that boat from time to time. And Jesus knew we have that tendency too, and that's what our lesson is about. Remaining connected and staying focused. Remembering what your life is all about. He said, I am the vine and you are the branches. You're an extension of me, he says. That's what we are. That's who we are. We are an extension of Jesus. He says, your life is a reflection of me. Are you living in such a way that reflects who I am? And you're not just here to look pretty. You're not just here to do whatever you want. You're here for a specific purpose. What is that purpose? To bear fruit. What is bearing fruit? Well, to carry life more fully into the world. To expand and multiply the goodness and grace that I have shown you. That's your purpose. That's what it's all about. Don't get distracted. Don't let all those bright, shiny objects get in your way. As normal, ordinary human beings, I think we're all honorary members of that BSO club. We all have that tendency to lose our focus, to lose sight of our purpose, to forget that we're here to promote and expand God's love and goodness in the world. To get distracted by projects, get distracted by other aspirations, all those shiny objects. And sometimes those distractions are really significant, really important things. Really powerful and profound things. Like all this week we've been hearing about rioting in Baltimore. We've been hearing about the aftermath of the earthquake. I read over 6,600 people were killed in that earthquake. That's a pretty big impact on a country. And all those sacred places in Nepal that were destroyed. Heck, even stories about Joni Mitchell and Bruce Jenner can distract us. And we start to wonder, wait a minute, where's this world going? What's this world coming to? What's happening here? And we can start to feel fearful. And the problem with fear is that we get distracted by it, and it turns us in on ourselves, and we stop bearing fruit. We stop giving to the world. We stop putting out this energy of kindness and care that God has shown us. We get turned inward. And those things that make us anxious, that make us fearful, that make us skeptical, that's not what we were created for. That's not fruit-bearing. We can't let the headlines lead us away from our true purpose. Now, if we hear these stories, if we hear about this earthquake and all the people that have been affected by it, and we ask the question, now, what am I doing to help promote life? What am I doing to help care for people? That's good. That's what we're created for. That's what we're here for. Jesus said our job is to bear fruit. And what is fruit? What does fruit do? Well, it nourishes. This is getting into that time of year when we all enjoy eating a little more fruit because it's all fresh and ripe and delicious. But fruit also is full of seeds, and the whole point of fruit is to further life, to help more things to grow, to help life come more fully into the world. And that's our job, to nourish and to bring life. To bring the presence of God, the life of God, the gifts of God. What are those gifts? Peace, joy, hope, love. These are the things that God says, this is what you're about. This is what you're created for. Not fear, not skepticism, not anxiety. This week when you're feeling discouraged, whether it be from headlines or maybe something more personal going on in your life, feeling discouraged, first of all, remember what Jesus said this week. I am the vine, you are the branches. You're connected. You are connected to the giver of all life. Excuse me. Second of all, ask yourself, what am I doing to bear fruit? What am I doing to bring life more fully into the world? What am I doing to promote God's qualities, God's gifts? After all, the best way to get out of a funk is to do something for somebody else. I've heard that for years, and it's so true. The best way to get out of your own funk is to figure out something to do for somebody else. Get out of your own head, get out of your own worry, and figure out what's going on with people around you. We can't afford to let ourselves get distracted or discouraged. But remember that we are connected, that we are the branches, connected to the one true vine. And that God is with us every step of the way, helping us grow, helping us toward unity and abundant